There's no feeling quite like it, is there? Getting home from work after being in the rain all day and putting on some dry, comfortable clothes and having a mug of tea and some buttery toast.
On a hill
near a wood,
where nobody goes,
up a track,
through a gate, the food forest grows, with secrets and treasures for everyone's pleasure, and Rob's discovery.
I didn't get too wet today actually, thanks to those trawlerman's overalls I was wearing. Thank you, Terry, very much appreciated. Although it's still lovely to get into the warm. Last month, on the video that I posted, homemade cleaning spray and a poorly duck, at the end I invited you to ask questions about forest gardening or my lifestyle, or both, well it's the same thing really, and also on my Facebook page, Rob's Forest Garden, and I was really surprised and delighted that so many people ask questions. I've got about 25 questions listed here. I shan't answer all of them now because that would make for a monotonous video, but I'll answer some. I read them briefly and then copied and pasted them into a Word document so that I didn't want to plan the answers, because I find I answer more honestly when just presented with a spontaneous question. Although I do know what they are, I haven't really thought about them or looked at them, so I've just got them here. Probably not a good idea to have a big bite of toast before answering the first question, and that is, why am I doing what I'm doing? I assume by that you mean like with the Forest Garden project. Okay, well, assuming that's the case, then I suppose the simple answer is because I can, and the longer answer is, well, have you heard of Joseph Simcox, the botanical explorer? He does some really good writing, and there's a good podcast on Sustainable World Radio. But to paraphrase him, because he sums it up far better than I could, he says that population mythology is detrimental to people's state of mind. A so-called overpopulation only seems bad when it's focused into places like cities, but imagine it was spread out more or less evenly over the planet and people were coexisting with and tending to, and therefore proliferating nature. It's not how many of us there are that's the problem, but it's the way that we're living. We use megalopolises, megalopoli I suppose it's called. We use them as the main argument against overpopulation, but we as people have the potential to transform the planet in such an amazing way that we can increase the diversity and productivity of the planet because of our numbers. What we do is more important than how many we are. Forest gardens are game-changing when we consider the future. By demonstrating a system of useful plants rather than just plants, it inspires people a lot more quickly, especially when they can see a practical application for their life. So using a forest garden system where, for example, there are plants not only to feed you, but to be grown for medicines and building materials and basketry and clothing and dyes and for beauty and for wildlife, having all these plants growing in that sort of system is quite inspirational. So the answer to the convoluted version of why is to be a living demonstration of the very best way, in my opinion, to use a hectare of land. which answers the next question, which is how much land do you have? A hectare, which is about 2.4 acres. And not only do I have that because that was the amount of land available to me, but also a hectare of forest garden is just big enough to have enough symbiotic relationships to make the whole system self-sustaining, with enough diversity to have all the symbiotic relationships going on. But any more than that is just too much for one person to manage and a bit too greedy, and a hectare just seems like a sensible amount. I have heard of forest gardens that are half an acre, a quarter of an acre, and they work just fine. But by having 2.5 acres or a hectare or more, then that keeps it more or less maintenance free because of the relationships between the plants, and when it's smaller it takes more management. Quite a few people have asked about the poorly duck, the one that was attacked by the drakes and only has one eye. Well, that was about 6 weeks ago, but 1 month ago she became broody, so I let her sit on a clutch of 6 eggs. I tried putting other eggs underneath her from the other ducks, but she only wanted her own. That's probably because she knew they were fertile and the other ducks hadn't been mated that much. So she's living in that little hutch. She now has a companion, another duck that was attacked by the drakes, and they share the duty of sitting on the eggs. And that was a month ago, and the gestation period is exactly a month, I believe, for ducks, which means they are due today or tomorrow. So if they hatch before I upload this video, then I'll include a bit at the end with the hatchlings. She did reject one of the eggs this morning before I went to work. She threw it out the nest, and I broke it open very carefully, and there was a dead chick inside, so I know that they're probably fertile, and she must have rejected it because she knew the chick was dead, which is quite sad. But we'll wait and see. June may still yet bring ducklings. It's still raining out, but that's a wonderful thing really, because the ground has been so dry. And this time last year it had already been a month without rain. That was before the long deadly hot summertime, so all the water vessels are filling up and the ground is becoming saturated. Although it'd be nice if it warmed up a little now, because this cooler weather has stunted the growth of lots of plants. This time last year I'd been eating raspberries for a month already, but they're only just starting to turn red at the moment. The next question: it would also be nice if you told us your experience about making the channel. Okay. I started it just over 2 years ago. I've become quite evangelical about forest gardening and can't stop talking about it. That's not the reason I make the videos, it's because when I started the project 6 years ago, so many people were interested, which is great, and they wanted to call in all the time, which is also fine. But it's when strangers started turning up, looking over the gate, asking what I was doing and if they could look round, and I'd get emails on a daily basis. And although I do tours sometimes on a weekend, I thought if there's that much interest, then I'll make films and show people about it. And you all seem to really appreciate that, so thank you very much. But some experience about making the channel. Did I say I've always liked making films? I haven't always been very good at it, but I've always liked it. Not necessarily with me in, that's quite a new thing. I still get very nervous before pressing record. I seldom practice what I'm going to say. That doesn't seem to help the nervousness, actually. Watching them back is really awful editing the videos. I enjoy the process of editing them because I'm quite methodical like that and love to get things just right. As you probably saw with my toast just now, arranging it on the grill just so. I've got used to hearing myself speak, but I still don't like it. In the videos, I try and give the impression that everything here is relaxed and slow-paced. I'm in touch with nature, just wandering around all day, just picking what I want to eat and looking at the bees, which is indeed the dream, but it's not like that at all. I hardly ever sit down. I'm always rushing around everywhere doing things, being extremely busy and important. But that's another reason I enjoy making them, actually, is because it does make me slow down a little and look at things. It takes me quite a long time for a 10-minute video. I mean, not this one because it's just talking, but like the rhubarb one, which was about 14 minutes, the last video, that did take all day. I don't know how it did, but it did. I suppose setting up the camera and trying to do things one-handed as well when cooking. Although sometimes I have help to film things, but mostly I do it by myself. And I don't know if you'd like to know anything else, but if you would, then please ask me. I'll be glad to answer. As far as the technicality of making the videos is concerned, I use two cameras. I use a Panasonic Lumix pocket camera, a digital camera that I've had for about 10 years, and a GoPro Hero 4 that I bought specially to make these videos 2 years ago. I mean, the quality is good, and I like the ability it has to plug in a microphone. I have a Rode shotgun mic with a furry job on the top, wind filter that doesn't work all that well. But I don't like that you can't zoom with the GoPro, so that's what I use the other one for close-ups and zooming in. But it's not that good either, and the battery only lasts about 15 minutes. Anyway, thank you for asking. That's a good question. I didn't expect that, but I didn't expect any questions, actually. Subscriptions. People often think that it costs to subscribe on YouTube, and they say, oh, doesn't it? It's Thomas, my brother. Hello, Thomas.
Spirit of the wood samurai, guardian of the butterflies.
Brilliant. Oh, I love his contributions. He always seems to know when I'm making a video and gives me a video call. That was a particularly good one. Subscriptions. It doesn't cost to subscribe. If you're watching one of the videos on YouTube, you click the red subscribe button, and all that means is that you get a notification when a new video is posted. Nothing more, nothing less. Another interesting question. There is much to be said for having a seasonal diet. Hear, hear. In terms of getting the right nutrition for the right time of year, not to mention reducing carbon footprint by having fruit and veg available locally at the time of year. But for a supermarket consumer, you can get anything, anytime it seems. True, for better or worse. From your experience, what are a few key perennial UK favourites we should be making more of an effort to eat locally? That's really difficult. Well, there are the typical things. I mean, the fruits, like rhubarb, well, which is actually a vegetable. rhubarb and strawberries and apples, they're always a good thing to buy locally and quite available at the right times of year. Well, apples are available most of the year actually, because you get different varieties. Other perennial vegetables, watercress is a fantastic one, as are potatoes. I think I've failed with this answer because my world is quite small, well, geographically speaking anyway. I only really go to Wells, that's the City of Wells market, to do my shopping, and sometimes I buy things from the community farm in Chumagna. They've got a veg shed there. From my limited experience, I don't really know what there is available locally in terms of perennial vegetable produce, apart from those ones that I've mentioned. If anyone has any suggestions, then please do contribute. It's always good to hear from you. Are you mostly self-sufficient, and are you vegan? It's very difficult to put a label on one's diet. I wouldn't like to put myself in a box. I'll try and explain it. If I'm eating out with friends or family, or dining out in a restaurant, I'm just plain vegetarian, although I'm still fussy where things come from. But when I'm at home, I would consider myself vegan, although I do eat eggs from my ducks because I know that they're treated well and where they come from. And I do eat hen's eggs from my mum's chickens as well, because I know that they have a really good life and diet and they're treated well. But apart from that, I try not to eat eggs. And I do eat, I don't think, well, it depends how strict a vegan you are. Some vegans eat honey and some don't. I do eat honey, but again, usually only from my bees, or if I know exactly where it comes from. And I should say at this point that my bees, I don't take the honey every year, perhaps only every second or third year, and when I do, I don't take the lot. I just take a tithe amount, like 5 or 10%, when they're doing really well. And I use that as a medicine rather than a food, so just take it when necessary. So am I vegan? Yes and no, but I do not eat meat. I can say that because that's true, and it's been, how long has it been now? Yeah, about 22 years, so a good long time. Oh, and am I mostly self-sufficient? I'm hoping to be, and I'm aiming to be. The forest garden's still only, well, the oldest tree is 6 now, and it's not at all finished, but I'm hoping to be in the next 2 or 3 years. At the moment, I would say I'm about 50% self-sufficient, so half of what I eat comes from the land, but I still have to go shopping. And I don't think there's such thing as true self-sufficiency. You can't be completely self-sufficient, or maybe you can, I don't know, but I'm going to be, or aiming to be, as near it as possible. And it's easier this time of year. There's a lot more growing in June, in the summertime, than there is in the winter, although that won't be the case once I've finished all the planting. And that was another question here on this list somewhere, is about what I'm growing. Where's it gone? I think it was as simple as that. What am I growing? Oh, what is my goal? How many trees and plants, and what kind? Well, I suppose my goal was answered in the first question. Well, how many trees and plants? Well, at the moment there are 280 kinds of trees and plants with a direct edible purpose, although they have secondary and tertiary functions. Some of them act as system plants, so companions to other plants to boost their productivity, and other plants to keep away pests or to create shade or habitat for the wildlife around, or a windbreak. So it's all part of the ecosystem. So even though I might not be able to eat them directly, maybe I can eat the fungus that grows from their roots, or I can eat them in the form of honey when the bees collect their nectar, or maybe maybe they put nitrogen into the ground to feed something next to it. But there are far more than 280 trees and plants, but that's just the types of plants so far. But I'm aiming for nearer 550 in a couple of years' time. It's really interesting how what I eat changes throughout the seasons as well. Like there are all the leaves and shoots of the springtime, and then the berries and the fruits of the summer, and then the nuts and mushrooms of the autumn, and then the roots of the winter. All different kinds of things. Too many to list for this video, but thank you for asking, and perhaps, well, I don't think I will list them all in another video. I try and talk about whatever's in season at that time when I'm making that video, so all shall be revealed over the next year. But if you would like to know what I'm growing, then it's all in this book, Creating a Forest Garden by Martin Crawford. That's where I got the idea. I'm basing my forest garden on his. He started 25 years before me, so I know that it works. And I'm just using his design, but just tailoring it to this environment 100 miles further north. It's going very well. I don't know if I should mention this next question. Maybe a semi-clad feature for my female fans. You didn't specify which bit should be clad and which shouldn't. Perhaps you could elaborate on that. Thank you. I think we'll go to the next question. What is my job? The one in which my pants ended up wet with the rain. Mostly I'm a gardener. I've been doing that for 8 years now. I drive around the Chew Valley in my Land Rover with my tools on board, going from garden to garden, doing all kinds of things. Cutting grass is my bread and butter money, so to speak, but I do other things as well. And I work in Bryony Huntley's forest garden. There was an episode I made about 2 years ago about Bryony's forest garden where she gave us a tour. That's a good one to watch. I'm only working 2 days a week doing that at the moment. I have done it full time, but I'm transitioning into doing other things, which I'll speak about another time. And it's a bit like a busman's holiday. When I get home from gardening, I do more gardening in the forest garden. But a change of garden is as good as a rest. Do you have any tick problems where you live? Here in New York, well, they've just put NY. I assume that's New York. I don't know. Here in NY, they are running rampant. If you do have ticks, how do you deal with them? Also, what did you do before you started up your forest gardening? Oh, that's a triple question. Yes, loads of ticks around here. My mum's dog always seems to get them stuck on him, as did my old dog, Bobby. Sorry, I just started thinking about Bobby then. How do I deal with them? Well, I never wear shorts. Partly because I don't like exposing my legs, and partly because I am concerned about ticks. And also I don't wade through long grass. I try and not wade through long grass. Or maybe I've just been fortunate so far. And I have surprisingly hairless legs, actually, since that epilator incident when I was 15. Yeah, I've never seen any ticks on me, but the animals around here do get them a lot. And we have a little green plastic tick remover. It looks like a miniature crowbar where you pull them out without leaving any of the tick in. So that's what we do. I used to put Vaseline on them, which you shouldn't do apparently, because although the tick does remove itself, it empties out all the blood that it's collected before it does that. and that could be bad for the animal or person it's attached to. So yes, lots of ticks. Let's hope that it's not a very ticky year. They only seem to come out when it's really hot anyway. And what did I do before you started up your forest gardening? Oh, well, there's a whole lifetime before that. What did I do? Do you mean work-wise? That's often what people mean when they say, what did you do? Well, since I left school, I've had about 40 different jobs. I shan't list them, but they have been numerous. I've worked in every pub and shop and cafe in the Chew Valley, it seems. I've taught English as a foreign language. I've taught accordion. I've done painting and decorating and babysitting and dog walking and Indian head massage and many things for money, but I never really settled on one thing. I enjoyed the teaching most, actually, which is what I would like to get back into, but perhaps not in schools. I will actually. I'm planning to run forest gardening type courses and permaculture things here on the land and teach about natural beekeeping and the likes. What did I do apart from work? Well, that's a bit too big a subject, but yeah, I've had quite a interesting life so far. Less interesting than others, more interesting than some. Yeah. Okay, I think we ought to wrap it up there because it's probably been about half an hour, but I do hope you've learned something and I've answered your question as satisfactorily as you'd like. And right, it's about 7 in the evening now, so I'm going to go outside and do a little bit more gardening. I've got some marigolds to plant in the various vegetable beds. They're very good companion plants to have with, well, any vegetable actually. Okay, please ask me more questions if you want to, if you can bear hearing the answers, and see you soon. Bye!